Good evening and welcome to Newsmax Prime. I'm JD Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, campaign machinations at the United Nations. The way I see it, the one thing President Obama enjoys more than anything else, except maybe golf, is campaigning. When he's not yelling "for," our 44th president is holding forth about why, in his estimation, he's been such a great chief executive and why he should be succeeded by Hillary Clinton. In fact, when Hillary was taking a few sick days, there was Mr. Obama preaching to the Democrat faithful in Philadelphia last week. Then, over the weekend, once again there was our president on the stump at the Congressional Black Caucus black tie dinner trying to guilt-trip black voters into casting ballots for Hillary, saying a failure to do so would insult him personally and hurt his legacy. President Obama's so-called legacy is the subject of great debate these days, especially in the wake of the terrorist bombing Saturday night in New York City. Yet there was our commander-in-chief taking the podium in New York at the UN this morning and talking to the delegates as if they were American voters. The way I see it, he must think he can get those UN diplomats registered to vote here faster than he can get amnesty granted to illegals. Listen to the way President Obama sees himself from his remarks this morning to the UN General Assembly.
We've taken away terrorist safe havens, strengthened the non-proliferation regime, resolved the Iranian nuclear issue through diplomacy.
So that's the way President Obama sees it. I think that I see it a lot differently, and so does my guest here on the anchor desk, one of my old friends from Capitol Hill, former Florida congressman and former director of the CIA, Porter Goss. Porter, we really appreciate your time here tonight on Newsmax Prime.
JD, it is a great pleasure to be here and to see you here.
Well, it is good to be here with you, and there was the president in what is supposed to be his final address to the UN General Assembly, bragging about a lot of things, including that Iranian nuclear deal. Porter, give it to us straight. How bad was that deal?
It's terrible for us. Nuclear proliferation is one of the great threats we have on a worldwide basis. And to aid and abet what I will call nuclear proliferation by Iran, which is run by a one-man sort of show and the Ayatollah who commands everything, it to me is irresponsible. We should not be doing this. This $400 million of cash, I mean, money is fungible, as we all know, and you wonder where that's gone and to what other clients of the Iranian state that might be mischief makers, that might be involved in, if not nuclear proliferation, just other kind of mischief making, because the Shiite terror system is all over the Mideast and elsewhere.
And you take a look at those payments. Now we understand wire transfers, perhaps payments in the billions.
They said they didn't do those.
Oh, yes, they said that.
Well, let's see, that would be against the banking laws, wouldn't it? The anti-money laundering, you can't do that. So that sounds to me like they've got some explaining to do.
Well, a new member of Congress we didn't have a chance to serve with, Mike Pompeo of Kansas, said that's directly what this administration was doing, laundering money to get it to the Iranians. Do you think there's something to that claim?
I'd ask.
And asking questions is important. And a lot of questions are coming up today, Porter, because we have the irony of the president there in New York City, where over the weekend we had that bombing in Chelsea. Yesterday, the apprehension of the suspect. And the more we are learning about this suspect, Ahmad, whose nickname was Mad, we see just how mad in hindsight it was to let this guy go. There he is after being shot following the gunfight yesterday, and now he's in the hospital. We're getting reports that he was on the FBI's radar for years. In fact, our parent website said it this way: bomb suspect's father told FBI 2 years ago his son was a terrorist. Now, Porter, you were in charge of the CIA, but you can tell us about the FBI too. What's going on?
That's different. Getting information overseas in CIA is the charter of what CIA does, but they don't operate in the United States. Against the law to spy on people in the United States, we all know that. But the FBI has to have a string of informants, and they do the best they can with what they've got. But frankly, the FBI's hands are really tied by this political correctness. Think about this for a minute. This guy has to be Mirandized now because he's due process. He's an American, so we can't ask any questions. So how do we know who else he was associating with? Now, I understand his wife is a person of interest in this matter. Now, maybe our intelligence people, while she's overseas, will have a chance to talk to her and, shall we say, interview her overseas before she gets back here and gets Mirandized for under due process. It's a crazy system we have, JD, and what has happened in 15 years since 9/11, we haven't sorted out a consistent way to deal with these people who are causing this problem for us. They've declared war on us. They want to hurt us. They're succeeding. More and more they're coming home. More and more our intelligence people are all saying, count on these lone wolf people, count on them being in the United States, playing on our home turf, because it's a better deal for them. Here they have all the rights and privileges of a free, democratic, open society to do their exploitation, their propaganda, and so forth, to commit their deeds, to get their knives or guns or munitions or pressure cookers or whatever they're going to do. And when they get caught, they get American due process rather than get their head taken off if they were in their home country.
So let me ask you this. A lot of talk out there today because we remember two fundamentally different approaches. The left always saying, oh, this is a matter of law enforcement. Those of us on the right saying, are you kidding me? We're at war. So should this suspect be treated as an enemy combatant instead of his status as a naturalized citizen?
If he is a terrorist that has sworn allegiance to another country or another flag, and that would be radical Islam, then I would treat him as an enemy combatant. And you remember a guy named Anwar al-Awlaki who was taken out by some kind of mysterious aerial kinetic in a foreign country, I believe it was Yemen, something that's probably still classified I can't talk about. But nevertheless, he was an American, but somehow or other this White House found a way to take him off the battlefield. Well, taking these guys off the battlefield is a great idea, with one exception. If you do that way, if you vaporize them, how do you ask them any questions? How do you get good information, good intelligence about what's coming next? That's a real conundrum we've got. And this administration, I think, has been inconsistent, underprepared, and somewhat off in la-la land, thinking that they are going to find these guys are going to be rational if they try and sit down and bargain with them. They're not rational. These are ideologues.
And on that note, Porter Goss, former congressman, former director of the CIA, you have our thanks.
I'm glad to be back with you.